My name is Leela. I am 17 years old, and I live in a small village named Green Bay. Green Bay is not famous. It is not on any map for tourists or travelers. It is a quiet, plain village where time moves slowly and life rarely changes. The houses are small, made of wood and old red bricks. The farms stretch out behind the houses like giant green blankets. Every morning, you can hear roosters crowing, and at night, you hear crickets singing. People in Green Bay wake up early, work hard during the day, and sleep early at night. Life is simple but repetitive. In a village like this, almost everyone knows each other. They visit each other's houses without asking. They share vegetables from their gardens, eggs from their chickens, and stories from their hearts. But there is something else they share too: gossip. In Green Bay, news travels faster than the wind. If someone does something new or unusual, it spreads from one house to the next, passing through each kitchen and doorstep. People aren't always unkind, but they talk a lot, and sometimes their words sting more than they mean to. My parents are kind people. My father works on our small farm, growing wheat and taking care of our cows. My mother manages the house. She is a good woman, caring and loving, but deeply concerned about what other people think. She often says, "Leela, remember, people are always watching. We must not give them anything bad to talk about." She believes a family's good name is like a fragile piece of glass. Once it breaks, it can never be fully repaired. This idea, to always think about what people will say, has shaped my entire life. We are careful about everything. We behave politely, dress modestly, speak gently, and never do anything too bold, too loud, or too different. As a child, I believed this was normal. As I grew older, I started to feel that maybe there was more to life than just keeping others happy. I had a secret dream, a dream I never told anyone in Green Bay, not even my closest friend, Anna. I dreamed of leaving this village one day. I dreamed of living in a big city with tall buildings, bright lights, busy streets, and people who didn't know my name or my family. A place where I could be free to make my own choices instead of being watched by neighbors. A place where I could be myself. But this dream was like a secret flower in my heart, beautiful but hidden. My daily life was simple. I went to school on weekdays. Our school was small, with only a few classrooms and teachers. After school, I helped my mother cook meals and clean the house. My evenings were spent doing homework or reading books. On Sundays, we went to church. I learned to be a good daughter and a good student. But sometimes I felt a quiet sadness inside. Not because I was unhappy with my family, but because I wanted something different, something more. One summer, unexpectedly, something new arrived in our small world. That summer was warmer than usual. The sun rose early every morning, and golden light spilled over the fields. Children played outside barefoot. Farmers worked long hours. Everything was as it had always been, until one afternoon, someone new arrived. His name was Henry. He came from a town not too far from Green Bay to help his uncle on the farm during the busy season. He was older than me, perhaps 22 or 23. People noticed him immediately. In a village used to the same faces, a new one was like a small spark in dry grass. He was tall, had dark hair, calm brown eyes, and a quiet smile. Soon, people began whispering about the newcomer. "Where is he from? He seems different. He is very handsome." Some of the girls at school, especially the older ones, began finding excuses to walk past his uncle's farm. One morning, my mother sent me to buy bread from the village shop. I walked in, and there he was, standing near the counter. Our eyes met for the first time. It was only a moment, but something inside me felt warm and confused. I felt my heart beat faster. I quickly looked away, paid for the bread, and walked out fast, my cheeks burning. For the rest of the day, I kept thinking about those calm brown eyes. Days passed. We began to see each other often, at the shop, near the church, sometimes by the road when he was carrying supplies. Each time he gave me a small smile, a polite smile. But to me, it felt like something more. Then, one afternoon, I walked to the old river at the edge of the village. It was a peaceful place, shaded by a large oak tree. I often went there to think. That day, I found Henry sitting there too, skipping stones across the water. I turned to leave, but he said, "You don't have to go. There's room for both of us." I stopped. Slowly, I sat down on the grass a few feet away. At first we said nothing. Then he spoke about the village, about how different it was from his home. His voice was gentle. I listened. That day, we didn't talk much, but something had begun. That was the first of many secret meetings. We began to meet by the old river, always in the shade of the oak tree. We talked about many things. I told him about my life in Green Bay, about the village, about how predictable everything felt. I even told him, slowly, shyly, about my dream of the city. He didn't laugh or say it was foolish. Instead, he said, "Leela, your dreams matter." He listened, truly listened, and that made me feel seen, like no one had ever seen me before. One day, while we sat near the water, he reached for my hand. His hand was warm. A small shock ran through me like magic. He looked into my eyes and said softly, "Leela, I care about you." My heart felt too full for words. I had never known that feeling. Softness, excitement, fear, and joy mixed together. A few days later, while we walked near the river, he stopped and looked at me with a quiet seriousness in his eyes. "Leela," he said gently, "I love you." The world seemed to pause. The wind slowed, the water stilled, and for a moment, I could only hear my heartbeat. And then quietly, I whispered back, "I love you too." It was the first time I said those words to anyone. He started bringing me small gifts, a yellow flower because I once said I liked yellow, a smooth stone he found by the river because it reminded him of me. He remembered things I said. He made me feel special, like I was not just a simple village girl, like I could be more. Our love felt pure. It felt safe. But Green Bay was not a place that let young people keep secrets for long. It started quietly. A few people saw us walking together. Then Mrs. Peters, my neighbor, saw us near the river. She told another woman, who told another, and soon it became the only topic people whispered about. "Have you seen young Leela with that man? She is too young. He will leave the village soon, and she will be shameful." Whispers became rumors. Rumors became gossip. Soon, the whole village had something to say about me and Henry. One day, my mother came home from the market, her face tight with anger. "Leela," she said sharply, "are you meeting Henry?" I looked down. I could not lie. "Yes," I said quietly. Her voice rose. "This is wrong. You are a young girl. People are saying terrible things. You are ruining our family's name." My father did not shout, but the sadness in his eyes hurt more than any angry words. A few days later, Henry walked me home at dusk. He gave me a quick hug before leaving. Unfortunately, Mr. Gable, who lived across the road, saw everything. That evening, he went across to my parents and told them we were standing outside in the dark, too close. The next day, it felt like my whole village was against me. People said things that were not true. Some said we had done shameful things. Some said I had no honor. I tried to explain, but in Green Bay, no one listened to the girl. They only judged. My parents sat in front of me one evening. Their faces were already decided. My mother said, "There is only one solution. You must marry Henry." Marry? I was only 18. Marriage was a forever decision. I was not ready. Henry and I cared for each other, but we had not even talked about marriage. We were just two young people who had found something beautiful between us. But Henry's uncle also pressured him. For his family's reputation, he agreed. I felt trapped. My parents believed this was the only way to protect honor. I wanted to refuse. I wanted to shout that I had done nothing wrong, that love should not be treated like a punishment. But I had no voice. So, I agreed. Our wedding was small and silent. It felt more like a court trial than a celebration. I wore a simple dress. Henry stood beside me looking serious, not joyful. The church felt cold. That day, I married Henry. But I did not marry love. I married fear, pressure, and the words, "What will people say?" We moved into a cottage owned by Henry's uncle. It was small and quiet. It did not feel like a home. At first, I tried to be a good wife. I cleaned, cooked, washed, and waited for Henry to return each evening. He worked long hours at the farm. He came home tired, silent, sometimes distant. Weeks turned into months. We tried to pretend everything was normal, but a quiet sadness began to grow between us. We rarely talked. There were no walks by the river, no yellow flowers, no laughter. One night he came home very late. I smelled a sweet perfume on his clothes. It was not mine. I said nothing. Another night, again late. Again, the perfume. Silence. One afternoon, while gathering his clothes for washing, I found a note in his pocket. A small folded paper. My hands shook as I opened it. The words were sweet, loving, romantic. But they were not for me. It was from a woman named Sarah, and she lived in a nearby town. That night, I did not cry. I sat quietly and watched the sun go down through our kitchen window. The sadness in me had turned into something else. Strength. I waited 2 days. Then, when he came home, I said quietly, "Henry, I know about Sarah. I want a divorce." He stared. "No, there are no divorces in Green Bay." "I don't care," I said calmly. "I want my life back." I went to my parents. My mother's first words were, "What will people say?" My father said nothing. No one stood with me. So I stood alone. I started planning quietly. I saved small amounts of money from selling chicken eggs. I hid coins in a small cloth bag. I found an old bus schedule. One route went to the city at 4 a.m. I packed a small bag with clothes, my savings, and courage. One early morning, before sunrise, I wrote a note. "I am leaving. Do not look for me." I stepped out into the cold, silent air. The village slept. The fields were still. I walked to the bus stop. When the bus arrived, I looked back at Green Bay. I did not feel guilty. I felt free. The city was the opposite of Green Bay, loud, crowded, full of life and movement. At first I felt lost. I rented a small room with just enough space for a bed and table, but it was mine, and no one judged me there. I visited a women's support center. They connected me with a lawyer named Miss Evans, a strong, kind woman who believed my story. She fought for my divorce. Henry refused at first. He wrote angry letters, but Miss Evans was persistent. After many months, the papers were signed. I was free, truly free. I found a job at a small cafe. At first I washed dishes. Then I started serving customers. People smiled at me. I made new friends. I began to feel strong again. Sometimes I stood by my window at night, looking at thousands of city lights. Each light felt like a new possibility. One evening, I wrote in my notebook, "My name is Leela. I am not the girl who was afraid of whispers. I am not the girl who married for reputation. I am a girl who chose her own life, and that is enough." And for the first time, I believed it. The first few weeks in the city felt like standing inside a storm. Everything moved fast. People walked quickly, talked quickly, even thought quickly. I would sit by my small window at night, watching people on the streets below. Some looked happy, some looked tired, some seemed lost, just like me. But I felt something new too, something I never felt in Green Bay. Possibility. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be or where I wanted to go, but for the first time in my life, the decision was mine. I was no longer Leela who must listen or Leela who must obey. I was just Leela, and that felt powerful. My days were simple at first. I woke up in my little room, made tea, and walked to the cafe where I worked. It was small, but always full of people. The smell of fresh bread and coffee filled the air every morning. At first I washed dishes. It was hard work. My feet hurt, and sometimes I burned my hands with hot water. But every time I received my pay at the end of the week, I felt proud. The money was not much, but it was mine. After a month, the owner of the cafe, Mrs. Hayes, asked me if I wanted to serve customers instead of washing dishes. "You're polite," she said. "People will like you." I was nervous at first, but I said yes, and surprisingly, I did well. I liked talking to the customers. They were different from people in Green Bay. They didn't ask about your past. They didn't care who your parents were. They just saw you as you were that day. Some even learned my name. "Good morning, Leela." "How's your day, Leela?" "One cappuccino, please, Leela." Every time they said my name with a smile, it felt like a little piece of me was coming back to life. After I left, Henry sent letters. Angry letters, then sad ones, then pleading ones. I didn't reply. My mother sent only one letter. It said, "You have shamed us. Do not return." After reading it, I sat on my bed for a long time, staring at the wall. Not because I missed the village, but because I finally realized something. This time, her words did not control me. I folded the letter quietly and put it away. I would not let guilt guide me anymore. Once a month, I met Miss Evans, my lawyer. She was always composed, always confident. She never seemed afraid of anyone. One afternoon, as we finished some paperwork, she looked at me and said, "Leela, you're stronger than you think." I smiled politely, but she leaned forward and repeated, "No, really, you are." No one had ever said that to me before. In the village, I was called obedient, quiet, good girl, soft-spoken, but never strong. That night, I wrote in my notebook, "Strength does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers quietly and waits for you to notice it." At the cafe, I met two girls who later became my closest friends. Maria, who loved to laugh and always wore bright lipstick, and Clara, quiet but thoughtful, who read books during her lunch breaks. They didn't ask me much about my past. They simply accepted me. One evening after work, Maria turned to me and said, "We're getting ice cream. Come with us." I hesitated. In Green Bay, I almost never went out for fun. But that night, I said yes. We walked along the riverside, eating ice cream and laughing at silly things. It was nothing special, yet somehow it felt special to me. It felt like I was slowly learning how to live. After some time, I began to notice small changes in myself. I started walking with more confidence. I looked people in the eye when I talked. I spoke my thoughts instead of always keeping them inside. Sometimes I even dreamed again, not just of leaving a place, but of becoming something. One evening, after work, I passed a school that taught English and writing. A sign outside said, "Evening classes available. It's never too late to learn." I felt something stir in me. For years, I loved words. I loved writing in notebooks. But in Green Bay, that was not seen as useful. so I never pursued it. But now, I suddenly wanted to try. I walked inside and asked for a form. For the first time, I signed my own name on something that mattered to me, not because someone told me to, but because I wanted to. One rainy afternoon, while cleaning my room, I found the old note Henry wrote to me years ago. The one that said, "I love you, Leela." The paper was worn from age. My hands stopped moving. For a moment, memories came flooding back. Young love, the river, yellow flowers, first feelings. But something was different now. The memory didn't hurt. It simply felt distant, like a story I once read, beautiful but finished. That day, I let go, not of the memory, but of the heaviness it once carried. One night, I stood by my window, watching city lights flicker like fireflies, and I felt something I had not felt in a very long time. Calm. Not excitement, not fear, not even joy, just calm. I realized something. You don't heal all at once. You heal slowly, quietly. Every time you choose yourself. Every time you let go. Every time you look into a mirror and say, "This is who I am now." And that is enough.